In this video, I'll show you how to create your own custom callouts in DaVinci Resolve. We'll use Fusion. If you're not familiar with it, still try to follow along. You may well be able to do this. The clip's on the timeline with the playhead over it. I'll click the Fusion tab at the bottom to enter into the Fusion page. We'll add a callout indicating that one of these vehicles is a taxi. It'll move with the taxi as it drives along the street. To make that happen, we'll have to track the movement of the taxi. We'll use a tracker node to do that. The media in node, which contains the clip from the edit page, is selected, so I'll press Shift Spacebar and type tracker in the search field. Tracker is selected in the list, so I'll press Return on my keyboard to add the node. In the inspector in the tracker list, an IntelliTrack tracker has been automatically added. I'll double-click on it and rename it to Taxi and press Return. In Viewer 2, there's a green rectangle with crosshairs. I'll grab it and place it over the vehicle that's to be tracked. The tracked object, whatever it is, should contrast with the background and be well defined. To track the vehicle, I'll simply click the Track Forward and Reverse button. That's done. I'll click on the check mark beside the taxi tracker in the tracker list until it turns into a dot. This will suspend it and lock its data, preventing it from being tracked again. Now let's add a shape that'll serve as the backdrop for the callout text. I'll use a vector shape. First, I'll deselect all the nodes by clicking in an empty area in the node editor, and then press Shift Spacebar to add an SB spline node. Vectors are special graphics in that they don't actually contain a graphic image. Instead, basically, what they contain are instructions on how to draw an image. Because of this, we need to add an sRender node. This will take the instructions from the SB spline node and create an actual graphic image or bitmap. I'll attach the output of the sRender node to the output of the tracker node. This will create a merge node with the sRender node connected to the green foreground input and the tracker node connected to the yellow background input. In other words, we're superimposing the backdrop over the main video footage contained in the media in node. I'll open the Effects tab to show you where to find all the vector shape nodes. Expand Tools on the left, and under OpenFX, select Shape. You can experiment and learn more about these on your own. Now let's draw our backdrop shape. I'll select the SB spline node and create a rectangle by laying down 4 points with the mouse in Viewer 2. The shape must be closed at the end. I'll shape the backdrop using the corner nodes. I'll set its color by clicking on the Styles tab in the inspector. And using the viewer controls, I'll position the backdrop. Don't worry too much about getting it perfect. You can come back and change its shape and position at any time. I'll rename the SB spline node to backdrop by pressing Function F2 or just F2 in Windows. Now we need a line going from the backdrop to the taxi. I'll deselect the nodes and add a paint node by clicking its icon in the Node Editor toolbar. The paint node needs a canvas to paint on. This canvas connects to its yellow background input. We'll use a background node. I'll rename the paint node line. and I'll attach its output to the output of the merge node. Viewer 2 has gone black because that's the background node's default color. We just need to make it transparent. I'll select the background node and move the alpha slider in the inspector all the way to the left to render it transparent. To draw the line, I'll first select the paint node. Now, in Viewer 2, I'll select the Polyline Stroke tool. I'll adjust the zoom level by holding down the Command key, Control key in Windows, and using the mouse wheel. I'll simply lay down 2 points to draw the line. I'll click the Modify Only button in the toolbar. If you don't do this, you'll keep adding to the line with each click of the mouse. The nodes at each end of the line allow you to adjust its position and length. If the nodes disappear, just click on either end of the line to show them. In the inspector, I'll open up the Brush Control section and change the shape and size of the brush. I'll make it the same color as the backdrop by click-dragging the eyedropper to the right of the color swatch over to the backdrop. And I'll expand stroke controls at the bottom and increase spacing to produce a dotted line. I'll adjust the line in the viewer. I'll reset the zoom level to fit. It's taking shape. Now for our callout text. For that, I'll add a text node. I'll connect its output to the output of the second merge node. I'll select the text node, and in the text box in the inspector, I'll type taxi. I'll change the font to something I picked out beforehand. And I'll change the color. Using the viewer controls, I'll position the text. I'll deselect the text node so I can see it better. Let's give it a shadow. We can do that by clicking on the Shading tab in the inspector. Under Shading Elements, select element number 3, which is Black Shadow. To reveal the shadow, put a check mark in Enabled. I'll adjust its position using the Offset Y field under the Position section. I'll adjust the position of the text. The text node needs to be selected to enable the viewer controls. Looking pretty good. Let's give shadows to the backdrop and line as well. First, the backdrop. I'll select its S render node. I'll press Shift Spacebar to insert a shadow node. I'll adjust its position and softness in the inspector. And the same thing for the line. Our callout's complete. All we have to do now is ensure it moves with the taxi. We'll do that by connecting each element, backdrop, line, and text to the tracking data generated by the tracker. First, we'll connect the backdrop. I'll select the first merge node. The merge node center XY coordinate pair is used for positioning, so that's what we'll connect to the tracking data. This will reposition whatever flows into the merge node, and once connected, the center XY coordinate pair will become read-only for all intents and purposes. I'll right-click on the center label and select Connect to, Tracker 1, Taxi Offset Position. That's moved the backdrop along with its shadow right onto the taxi. Not exactly what we're after. We can use a transform node to fix this. I'll select the shadow node and insert a transform node. Using the viewer controls, I'll reposition the backdrop. Now to connect the line, it's the same thing again. Select its merge node. Right-click on the center label and select Connect to, Tracker 1, Taxi Offset Position. Insert a transform node between the shadow and merge nodes. And use the viewer controls to position the line. Connecting the text will be a bit simpler. Select its merge node and connect to the tracker as before by right-clicking on the center label. Now select the text node and use the viewer controls to position the text. That should do it. I'll play the clip. It looks fine, but it's sitting too low towards the end of the clip. This can be easily fixed. I'll move to the first frame of the clip by pressing Command left arrow, Control left arrow in Windows, and select the tracker node. In the inspector, at the bottom, I'll keyframe the Y offset 1 field. I won't be changing X offset 1, so there is no need to keyframe it. I'll play the clip and stop it whenever the callout gets too low and use the Y offset 1 field to raise it up. That looks better. Let's finish off with some animation to really refine this. I'll move the playhead to the first frame and select the backdrop node. I'll select the Controls tab in the inspector and set X rotation to 90 and keyframe the field. That's rotated the backdrop so it's lying flat. Now I'll select the line node. And I'll move the right on field second slider handle all the way to the left and keyframe the field. And the text node. Under Properties, I'll turn opacity all the way down to hide the shadow and keyframe it. I'll select Element 1 under Shading Elements and expand the size section at the bottom. I'll set Y to 0 and keyframe the field. That shrinks the height of the text to 0, making it invisible. Now let's move ahead half a second, or 12 frames. The current frame is 77, so I'll just add 12 and move the frame 89. Starting with the text node, I'll set Y to 1. The field is keyframed automatically. To bring the shadow back, I'll select Shading Element 3 and turn opacity all the way up. I'll select the Line node and move the second slider handle for the right on field all the way to the right. And lastly, I'll select the Backdrop node and set X rotation to 0. I'll play it from the beginning. There we have it, a basic framework for creating your own custom callouts. Thanks for watching.